But I know from people who are in a position to know that in terms of the disclosure narrative, they're not going to talk about abductions. Like, very intentionally, that's being left out of the conversation. And the main reason for that is it's not just egg on the face of the national government that this happened. It's that every single year we get closer to that like $1 trillion a year price tag for our defense. And the idea is that like, we have the best defense in the world. The government can protect us from just about anything. And the bubble of that illusion bursts almost immediately if you accept the premise that like beings can come into your bedroom and take you, and that there's nothing the government can do about it.
Which is kind of astonishing, because if you think about it, at the core, if this were a movie, which it increasingly feels like it is, that's terrifying. Like that's it. If that is the phenomenon, like I've heard it said before that the abduction phenomenon is the UFO phenomenon. I've heard it claimed that way. I've found it to be particularly fascinating because the narrative goes from abductions to experimentation to some type of a hybridization program. Then you start to hear these reports and read accounts of people who are presented with hybrid children that look in early stories very weird. But as those stories evolve over years and years, the children look more and more normal. And there's a really weird, chilling podcast interview that David Jacobs did where he said there were a number of cases with people he worked with where they reported being on a ship or being somewhere, but they're shown a screen. And on the screen, it's like a video of people playing in a park and like barbecuing and grilling hamburgers. Have you heard this? You ever heard this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think more people should read David Jacobs. I'll say that.
And sometimes they'll be in a large place with a screen in front of them. All communication is telepathic on board these objects, as we all know. And they'll look at the screen, and it's a picnic. And this is an actual event. I've talked about this in the media before. It's an actual event, and there's people who are just standing around and gabbing, and there's a picnic table, and there's people who are maybe playing ball or throwing the ball to each other or something like that. It's just normal, absolutely normal. And they hear in their mind's ear, can you tell the difference between you and us?
And the abductee stares at that screen and says, difference? What do you mean? I don't see any difference. Everybody looks the same. And it's like, then they hear this telepathic voice saying, see, isn't that wonderful? Soon we will all be together. Soon everyone will be happy. Then another abductee tells me a story about how she sees this what looks like a photograph, and it's of people like standing on steps, like a school photograph or something like that, except there's only about a dozen people. And she's staring at this thing, wondering why she's looking at this photograph. And she hears a voice that says, can you tell the difference between us and you? And she says, no, everybody is exactly the same. Once again, same thing. See, isn't that wonderful? Soon everybody is going to be together. Soon everyone will be happy, etc., etc.